Thank you, brothers and sisters. Hell yeah, let's gather together. Let me start out with a little scripture just to lubricate the spirit here. John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word was God. The Word is challenged, brothers and sisters. 3 a.m. tweets in all caps need not be the Word. We have a different definition. I have to confess that I feel a little shaken, a little upset, a little schizoid in a world like this. I've stopped reading the newspaper for the last 2 days, and I feel like I'm recovering. It's fantastic. You know, there's an old joke about a suburban couple who didn't realize their son was alcoholic until one night he came home sober. And I'm sobering up, ladies and gentlemen, and it scares me for what I think I remember is happening in the world beyond bucolic Tennessee. It's such an honor to be here. I thank Wyatt. I thank Megan. I thank my dear friend Jane Holding, who's come with me today and who's my ideal human being and my first reader and dedicatee of all my books. I'm so grateful to be in the presence of writers who are so distinguished and beloved by me as friends and as sources of amazement and entertainment. It's a joy to be able to bring my coals to Newcastle. Here it is. I have a progress report. The novel I'm working on is continuing, and I have another chapter to show you, brothers and sisters. It was so much fun to try it out last year and very encouraging, so I brought something else. I'm beginning to have realizations. You know, you can get to be 71 years old and suddenly understand the most basic thing about yourself. I realized, I think in the Sewanee Inn, that I'm a religious person who doesn't believe in God. It's a very confusing situation. I think that's why I write about the church, because I'm seeking to understand how I was malformed and formed by it, what a profound effect it had on my life in terms of ethics, if not in terms of theology. And very confusing. I'm from what we used to call a mixed marriage. My mother was Presbyterian, Quaker. My father was a born-again evangelical Christian who found Christ the day I turned 13, which was the day I think I lost Christ. It's a strange thing how many authoritarians love Jesus Christ, who was a virginal Baptist that they killed when he was 33. But he's found an extraordinary utility in how they explain themselves to themselves in the world and how they've somehow corrupted his message, I think. I'm fascinated by the intensity of religious feeling in a person who's sort of cut off from the source material. I don't think of myself as an infidel. I think of myself as a self-starter. Hell yeah. That's what we all are. Those of us who are sitting in this brass culture, looking at the true gold that's in our diaries, in our little papers, in our little ambitions, in our little projects, in our beautiful poems. Those of us who still believe that nature has some validity and must be protected and not ravaged and sold to the highest bidder. Those of us who still have an ambition to leave 10 or 12 beautiful books that say, I was here, this is what I saw, this is what I felt, this was my part of human history. I am a Vietnam veteran. I'm very proud that I survived 3.5 years in the Navy and the Gulf of Tonkin and the South Pacific. I'm a gay man who survived 15 years in New York during the AIDS pandemic, and I'm one of the rare people who survived to tell the tale, and I take that obligation and joy very seriously. I was not an advocate of chastity either, I can promise you that. In the days of my looks, I would get messages under the windshield wiper giving me just phone numbers and statistics to make me interested in the phone numbers. And I think one rainy Thursday I turned down one invitation, but that's the only thing I regret. And yet I'm still alive, brothers and sisters, I'm alive. Hell yeah. Let's celebrate being alive. Let's celebrate telling the truth in love. That beautiful phrase from Deuteronomy, the 4th book of Deuteronomy. Speak the truth in love. There may be a motto for us at this age of hate, at this age of demonization. Speak the truth in love. The truth is very hard to detect. It's very hard to pin down. It's, legalistic, it's Talmudic, it's rule-bound. Love is all-inclusive, all-forgiving, all-accepting. And somehow in our work, it's helpful to have that phrase available to us at all times. So we're both telling the truth about politics, the politics of now, how diminished we feel by the people who represent us in Washington and to the world, and yet the love we know in our close lives with our children and our friends and our pets and our goldfish and our plants and our world. How strange that they're both in the same sentence, and how wise to have that admonition before us at all times. In choosing which chapter of my novel in progress to read, I tried to realize that I was working on a chapter that had a lot to do with public reaction to a private and hideous injustice and an embarrassing event in a small town's life. And I thought there may be equivalencies to our current situation politically. I'm very interested in animals. I think as a subject, animals are too rarely represented in fiction and poetry. And I really urge you to look at the animals in your life, the animals that you imagine, your spirit animal that you invent, and your chihuahua that nobody loves but you. Animals are the hostages of the planet. We are taking them down with us, and I'll not give any more away about what's about to happen. But I hope you enjoy this chapter. It's from the novel called The Erotic History of a Country Baptist Church. Can everybody hear me? Does anybody need to go to the bathroom? Or turn off your cell phone? Or just rearrange yourself in your chair? Let's get comfortable. Leave everything to me. I can't see all of you through this lamp, but I'll try to pretend I can. We didn't mean to hurt it. We were just calming the thing at first. Mighty awkward situation afterwards. But that old Tommy circus had to turn up the same day as our new young preacher. Same train, just made for a bad mix. Baptist sacraments versus African wildlife. And we'd been enjoying the sight of their big little monster till the second it got loose. That likely scared us into chasing it, stopping it. North Carolina newspapers would call April 13th, 1900, regrettable escaped creature mishap. And not to speak ill of the new man, Reverend Dacey Pilker, barely 24, but being a recent widower, he didn't know certain things all wives know. Hadn't even telegraphed us his time of arrival. Would he come on horse, bicycle, or foot? Well, how can you greet such a leader? Being a country church, us at Lithium Springs Baptist pride ourselves on how nice we welcome our new preachers. Might not count in cities, but out here, we know how to do. We dress stylish, bring trays of deviled eggs, await his train no matter how late. Youth choir will wear its red Christmas woolen robes even in mid-July. Never let anybody tell you Falls, North Carolina does not value a pageant. Now, New York City is a pageant, a big nasty one, but a pageant. And being this local, we must work harder to make the ritual magic happen. But if your preacher will not even tell you what day he's fetching up, How can you aim your pageantry? This sneaking in pastor got naturally upstaged by the Pirelli family's Miracle Scientific Variety Circus. Pastor, a pale youth in a man's black suit, disembarked among offloading chimpanzees. Do you wonder no Baptist detected him? His left hand clutched a 4-pound Bible. Pain had not yet marked this boy's mild face, though the year before he'd funeralized his own fevered wife and infant son. 10 circus boxcars suddenly unpacking made much of our dusty station. Biggest beast arrived in barred cages like county jails on wheels. Town boys playing hooky sat smoking, waiting to see exotic creatures, especially gypsy dancing gals. Here they came, chewing gum, purple harem pants, tummies exposed and tanned, if kind of lizardy. The head girl, scary pretty and half naked, clinked within more brass jewelry than any 3-dime stores offered. She gave our blonde pastor the look, then giggled, "That is one I'd do for next to nothing." And no parishioner stood near enough to even shield that man of God. Only his Quakerish black hat helped hide him from the circus-level sin. You know, the Reverend then walked those full 3 miles out here to Lithium Springs Baptist. It was shaming for us. At least we'd fixed up his parsonage nice, hid his house key under the doormat, in an envelope, sealed. It being 1900, we took no chances. His porch was already paved with fluffy cakes, flat cobblers. Though our head deacon ran a bank, he'd forgot to leave Dacey's first month's salary. Poor boy down to coins was hungry enough to eat 2 iced cakes that first night. Picked wrong. Given our wild blackberries out this way, cobblers are best. Instead of cash, Dacey found a parchment letter Deacon Brixton, county's largest landholder, had dictated. "Sir, if you are not easily tired by travel, my Brixton Test Station farm, dedicated to modern agricultural techniques, might be fun to see at 8 a.m. tomorrow? No return address. No dodging it." Morris Brixton's buckboard clumped up early. Age 40, he demonstrated his white smile, showing different sections of a much-praised profile. Brixton bent to shake Pastor's hand, then surprised yanked Dacey up into a seat. When somebody's this rich, everything can come out as a test or a trick or a lecture. Brixton rode preacher right past his new church without even stopping. The deacon had ordered his staff back to work on a Saturday, made them line up wearing white lab coats, and during a family circus weekend, wind shifting, workers heard the calliope downtown. Folks would soon endure with little coffee the demonstration of progressive feedlot methods. Dacey, shy, approached first farm workers to introduce himself. Gunshots made everybody turn toward town. Fall's fire alarm bell commenced clanging. It always rang till our bucket brigade got fully formed, but after 3 chimes, silence fell. Calliope with one sour smear gave way. Farm workers turned from Boss Brixton and more toward town now. Sensing an emergency, people looked for smoke. Boys with the best eyes pointed. Soon even the middle-aged saw a cloud of grit bloom betwixt us and Falls proper. You saw how dry our countryside was, a pink cumulus of dust enlarged this way. "I spy," one lad announced, "a big gray ball dragging strings." Drought's heat made even close things shimmy as if seen through flame. Staffers broke rank, strolled nearer the river road. Part of the strangeness was anything unplanned daring interrupt Deacon Brixton. Once he got his crew in formation, once he got talking about progressive contour tilling in eastern North Carolina, everybody owned less and felt too often reminded. Another strangeness having among us the withheld presence of a new preacher so young. Pilker was blonde unto blankness, even seeming a bit albino. Whiteness showed his eyes to be a blue of mineral innocence. Everything about him whispered, "Don't mind me. I'm new here. Amen." Unlike savvy elder preachers, he had not prayed aloud over today's breakfast rolls. Pilker looked stunned, as only sunlit white boys can, outdoors at 8:45 a.m. A dot of yellow sleep in one eye's corner proved he had no wife and hated mirrors. Brixton stepped nearer the river road. Hands locked behind him, you saw he intended to resolve whatever mess came spilling near his white fences. Folks lined roadside, shielding eyes from sun. Slowly we interpreted all we saw. 20-odd racing adults and 9 kids kept something gray, humongous, running hard this very direction. Strange for here, for anywhere, part ritual, part dream, mainly ragtag accident, just getting cranked. Is a mishap something that mishappens? If so, how can that be helped? Who decides? Somebody should probably stop it. Now would be good. The beast's size dwarfed garden tools. Runners kept poking at it. It appeared to be a young one of its immense breed. Your blue eyes, Scotch-Irish eyes, could scarcely take in how one of those, mud-colored, could even be in our state, much less out here free-ranging a secondary road. All sagging gray it came. Its gallop hurled hammock swags of skin. With every bound, its belly weight told fully side to side. Weight seemed its main means of clockwork locomotion. From all the dark tubing slung below, you had to peg this one as certifiably male. That large, it advanced inside a silence even bigger. Off its foremost end flapped one ragged ear, the size of a shower curtain, the shape of Africa. Legs round as tree trunks, progressing underneath, now blurred, seeming to construct then destroy an ever-changing log cabin. The snout of it lifted like some schoolchild, raising his whole arm toward teacher, hoping to be excused. Close against its flank, one sportsman pedaled like crazy his bicycle's giant front wheel. A yowling pack of dogs now swept into hearing. One Center City Pekingese kept the beast annoyed, darting teeth into any given leg. Big-chested men, arms held high, ran demonstrations of some fine male running. And following willy-nilly a plague of little boys, 2 tomboys, children black and white, tossed rocks at the behemoth's backside. 2 kids wore knickerbockers, 1 argyle sock ran loose, now covered 1 whole shoe. Boys could be heard now more clearly. "Dang good shot that, Clyde." With the chase closing in 200 yards from us, dog barks came louder, and so did a blast the creature sent. That hit us like some weather force, a lunch hour whistle rising at its end. That end turn upwards made the beast every noise a question. But why? Then, who'll go get my father? As it clumped over a low bridge, the Leviathan scouted our landscape, table flat for some hiding hill or pocket jungle. It had no chance of stopping. You guessed this parade had started with simple grinning. Maybe these very men had fed it grass to watch its worm-like trunk work. But then a walk becomes a step toward a run. As the town limits cease, all guides and systems fall behind. As the group, toting brooms, a scythe, 1 rake, neared us, you felt the soil beneath you twitch, drum, thunder. You saw 1 yellow hound press even faster to gnaw a favorite hind leg. Dog lunged forward to claim a better mouthful, but tipped too far, stomped suddenly. In country stillness, and from 90 feet, you heard hound's spine snap, pop. A whole cur tumbled starwise, cartwheeled into ditch, dead that instant. And now 1 red-haired kid, dog's likely owner, let loose a war whoop arching above everything. Holding a scythe he'd maybe picked up from some town gardener's wheelbarrow, the muscled plowboy hurtled alongside jolly animal flesh. 1 lad would pass a gray wall also running. His weight leaned 45 degrees nearer into it. Starting at its back end, he poked his side's hawk peak just so, lean steel blade in so deep and under. Next he surged forward, opening the young thing's side. First you saw a running mist of pink. Then the speeding boy, just grinning back to clock all damage done, met a darkness overtaking him. One crest of black came out of it and over him. Oh, it's sound then. Before you even knew you'd heard it, you were 3 or 4 feelings in. You knew all the better it had been a baby one. Near your throat you understood this creature was too new at life to expect harm. It could not know what had drawn all others' wrath, and then their blade. The mess that opened doused the boy that cut it. Running yet, his scythe still foremost, he turned a blinking African minstrel show, blue-black. Coated by this torrent, he fell into the ditch and disappeared. But others, maddened at a good dog's death, found new speeds. Bigger rocks now drove it off the road. It cleared a gully, then busted Brixton's fine white fence, which shattered like balsa. We stood so under, and inside the scream the slit beast made. It was nearly on us already. Its mammoothness up close drugged us with such terror that from now on, everything seemed forced to happen very slow. We became chess pieces placed by other than ourselves. This might aid our dodging its likely rage and stomping us to bone meal. Why had it been singled out to get so hurt? Well, maybe for being born weird and across too much ocean, for it's imposing that on us, so ham-red and freckled, so local that nothing happened here but us for 3 whole years on end till the circus finally returned. Maybe this critter was getting punished for the usual village reason. It's being the single one of its own peculiar kind, stuck out here unguarded. Alone with us, nothing had saved it from our worst, so the worst had immediately surrounded and then maimed it. Were we the worst? Our worst certainly was. Its cry, if defeated, pitched beyond complaint, more like something talking only to itself. Its every sound now ended with that rising, like asking a plea for mercy or some better bargain left in town. The amount it bled must be measured in the tens of gallons, no more. Men midfield, still pursuing it, kicked up dust. Then soon came churning, plashing through its liquids ankle deep. Underfoot, the baby'd spillage slowed everything like gravitation's wagon grease leaking upward. Soon all were trudging in some new mud fudge formed from our orange dust and all its purple losses. Men signaled toward its faltering front legs. Men saw it risk an S-shaped route to try and shake them. Chasers swerved away from its new shivering. It'd likely fall on them, but soon as it, trunk first, went down, thump thud, like some minor building demolished as announced, forelegs fighting that, not wanting to, till the back legs folded one at a time. Its tormentors, now mere curiosity seekers, again drew timid nearer. Dogs, having helped us fell it, kept back, whimpering now. Just the snub-nosed Summit Avenue Pekingese, a fluff of viciousness, still made many little rushing visit bites. Pedigreed coonhounds ceded a sporting distance. Now the fun of running it was done. Though most of us fall citizens knew all others on sight, this posse, blasted in road dust, showed us mostly rough strangers, mechanic farmers attracted to the once in 3 years tent show. Maybe among these 10-year-old boys was your doctor's son, but 10-year-old boys all look alike, especially those with faces already fisted up this guilty and confused. 2 kids were black, the rest white. You could already see them figuring ways of explaining to fathers where their Christian faith had gone. Some boys, soon in tears, fought to recall the toy innocence of how clean this mess had started. Why do so many good American things turn the opposite of fun so quick, huh? Huh? Boys recollected the charm they'd just felt first seeing such a critter wandering Main Street. Like all of its kind, this one seemed to be thinking hard of something else, something better, maybe from earlier. This one had looked so sweet and squinting, curious, as free as them. Happy now, fools! Deacon Brixton, knuckles on one hip, stopped inches short of his growing puddle. Why ever chase it? Pleased? If you'd stopped, the owner would have come and called it by its name or fed it straw or brought out its mother. The owner would have saved it, but you scared the creature so it ran. One thing never fails to lead to the worst possible other hereabouts. I own half this county, and I wish I could import new people for it, I swear to God. You're full-grown men, some of you acting like boys and boys like your mongrels there. Shame on the pack of you. How will this look for falls in our state's every newspaper? What if the Nationals catch hold of this? You got loose, ye. So hollered a potato-colored white man whose teeth said all you'd ever dare know about his history, his kin. He was clearly not from here, or he'd never have taken that tone with any Brixton, this big a one especially. We was gardening it first. Mr. Knows-It-All. We seen it was on its own. And well, sir, we tried corralling it. We didn't mean to hurt it, trying to calm it right at first. For them, really. But it bolted, and oh, what a sight, them horses bucking everywhere as it went. But right quick, before you knowed it, that sly thing had slipped past town, running to where we had to keep it, well, observed. And then it trampled to purpose the best yellow hound that town had ever known, probably. And naturally, the fellow as owned the dog was made ornery. So here we are. I didn't do nothing. I was just seeing what I could catch sight of without buying Mama and them a whole ticket each. Would have happened anyways. That many children underfoot in town. I say some circus from Europe had no business letting it roam like that, is what I say. The side of the beast was pitching up and down. Now you could really see its odd cement skin. Though you knew this to be a youngster, its hide was craped with ancient-looking wrinkles, dusty and encoded as old Egypt. Its skin was inch-thick silver leather, somewhere between oilcloth, pound cake, and a real good tar paper. The gash collapsed its side like some masonry wall. One man touched the living tail of it because he found he could. Tail began unified as a vine, but ended frayed as worn rope. The curl of its undertrunk looked cushioned in rows like a caterpillar's quilting. As that trunk sucked air through its end holes, as the trunk stretched out in daylight, it looked as massive, as sensitive as some human youth's male manhood. The trunk, sunlit on one side, looked some combination of a boulder and a fern. Our new preacher, gone ash white, threw his black hat clear out into the field to save it from whatever further harm must come. The beast's ear and head lay gouged into a tunnel furrow that its fall had made. Now the pastor could survey its whale-sized skull, 4 feet up off Beanfield. Preacher bent forward and looked into its sole upward-aiming eye. The eye kept working, sunny side up. It shone an amber, mostly yellow. Coffee saucer wide, it looked intelligent to that extent that forced you to recognize it. The eye recalled how in old-time ghost tales something smart and alive stands staring through an eye-hole cut into some crusty portrait of the dead. And this young creature's slick black pupil continued constantly swerving, so in search of being saved, you heard the panicked veering eye snap, wet, worried, to and fro and to. Dogs, now bored by the main show, patrolled Beanfield's far edges, flushing a few quail. Hounds looked toward people for praise. They seemed as proud of birds as this odder wildlife they'd driven our way. The snarling Pekingese orange dust ball with an underbite. A male, excited by the smell of blood, felt stimulated to consider mounting one white setter bitch. Just beyond the spine of the fallen Leviathan, this pair went into a half paralysis that often marks desire's onset. We, disgusted if not unwilling, watched them going nose to tail and vice versa. The fluffy male rose onto his hind legs, self-pleased as with some parlor trick. Then he locked into the usual C-shaped, rutting hunch, so comical in other species, so preoccupying in our own. And though busying the air around her uppermost footpad, he could only gape at the goal overhead. Her stunned seizure of waiting, ever forward-looking, suggested a lifetime's hopeful disappointment. Several farm workers revolted at this lewd display on what now seemed somehow holy ground, shied rocks at the pair, producing one Pekingese squeal and immediate sexualist interest. Townsmen, boys, farm staff drew nearer the beast's head end, lining up as before some open civic casket. Its eye, like a broken egg, showed very slick. How simply it looked back at us, one by one, accepting us into whatever disk of sky it could still survey. I offered each assailant a share of the creature's ancient patience, terrifying from something still so new on earth. Its being good had not slowed 1 second of its getting hurt. The animal rocked a bit in place as to console itself. A single person, the new Baptist pastor, never heard to speak much before, now risked pressing right close up against its present thrashing. As if blind himself, preacher reached out, then patted it like this was his own old dog. Daisy soon laid both hands across its great geography of a head. Someone would now have to answer. You slowly felt this certainty claim everyone's red ears and upper vertebra. If this was a mob, it was quickly declining into terribly separate persons, into traceable names, known addresses where bank books got stashed back of single brick chimneys. Preacher alone, fixed only on it, he freely touched it now. He freely looked into its living eye. Drawn to the source of so much biblical leakage, he waited, likely ruining the one pair of good black shoes he'd need for his first sermon tomorrow. You could look at him and know he owned no spares. As he stroked its stove-sized noggin, as dust flew up like flour, Reverend Daisy Pilker kept saying across its whole head, "Just wish I knew what they call you, boy. What would your name likely be, little buddy?" There, I know. Hold on, though. One of your kind will come and find you. Yes, such hurt. Nothing we planned. Is it better or worse for that? Preacher did not ask that we bow our heads, seek forgiveness. Strange, he spoke not to God, but to the animal. Patting the spotted skull, his fingertips found a groove mid-trunk. He scratched just there, scratched hard enough to register even into such pain. The uppermost eye closed briefly, its trunk inhaling air that blew a bigger dusty sigh. Seeing how fast Preacher had taken to it, we felt more ashamed. He had the simplest way of touching and talking to a baby one of those. It weighed most of a ton, but in its final hour, he'd made some sort of pet of it. You saw the thing respond, but staring only upward now. You guessed it had been its circus's centermost darling. Therefore, it had arrived among us over-trusting. Oh boy, now look. The man with the teeth pointed back along our road. We then saw the red and gold wagon coming, beetle-sized. It shone like some enameled toy the Tsar had just commissioned. Pulled by white draft horses, the vehicle must have mirrors armoring its either side, for we noted great white trembly sheets of light firing out across all the farmland. Accidental, brilliant, spotlit certain black pine branches acres off. Uh-oh, the man said. Bound to be the owner of that entire circus. Likely he's coming to take names and kick ass. We ain't paying by the pound of meat, right? Let's all get together on this quick, fellers. What's our story? And one story only. Then you saw folks slow, almost dance-like backing away from our fallen creature in its growing pond, as if our wandering 30 feet from it might make us look more innocent out here midfield, as if we spent our every Friday afternoon standing out here, a convention with no chairs. One man now noticed he still held a broom, another the borrowed rake. Each set theirs down 6 rows off, then stomped tools flat or kicking dirt over top. Men sensed we were all in this together now, that we'd now gang up against the outraged owner, a professional alien among us after all. Hope somebody brung their wallet, chuckled the country one with the crissy-crossed teeth, 'cause yonder comes the circus's president. This'll be a seller's market, and him who's paying will not be me. I just come along to see how crazy some fool like that man back there might get, and like Blade Boy, and I didn't do not one thing my own self. Nary a rock did I, Chuck, ask anybody. It's like that farm boss said, there was not cause to kill it. Yard dogs are a dime a dozen, but one of these, now you're talking some sure enough expense. Shut up! Brixton's turn. I don't know who sickens me more. It's the same with all you people. I swear, if an angel landed in my field here with one wing hurt, instead of patching it or making a splint or taking it toward our Lithium Springs church yonder, you'd probably drop stones on it too. Just because you've never seen an angel. And then you want credit, and like as not, try selling the body to newspaper photographers. There's no limit. Look at this sadness you made. First time we've ever seen such a specimen. First chance to study one. Now this, and here I was feeling so proud of my place, showing off the future of farming to our new preacher. But ready yourselves. Here, my fine gentlemen, comes management. And what shall you say to management? You'll expect me to explain you? Listen, you devils, the Lord himself long since passed on that job. Your fathers dreamed for generations of sleeping just a little later every day. You certainly want a circus without paying for one ticket. I just despair of you all. And excuse my language, preacher, but I wash my hands of this whole goddamn fucking region. I just really do. He turned aside. The teeth man asked, which one's the preacher? Yonder student type 1. Got no hellfire in him as I can see. I cheer he ain't a called the Lord's name, not a once. But Daisy Pilker, following the eye of the suffering beast, scanned overhead, wincing in the sun. Now everybody else saw what the dying thing had noticed. 3 buzzards circling high. Sun through their shadows, cloud huge, gliding over us. It was the drought. Birds had likely first caught a whiff of the hurt one's moisture, then could not believe their coming luck. 12 gilded mermaids, carved deep and life-sized, joined hands and dorsal fins to form a wagon. Golden shoulders held up beveled mirrors 10 feet square. This cursive vehicle took up the whole road. On top of it, behind its driver, what appeared white laundry sacks heaved into being women, 4 of them, 1 fat, the rest those harem girls now holding sticks. No, rifles, 4 rifles. The heavy mother gypsies, seeing their beast so wounded, wailed one yodeling foreign cry. Pirelli in his red band major's uniform had a bald head brown as any shine shoe. His mustache hung up front, black and coiled as a wrought iron shop sign. This wagon load of folks gazed down, dark-eyed, as our field stared up through eyes pure blue. Shining black eyes kept gaping, spooked as if we were Martians newly landed here. Odd, but circus folks acted almost scared of us. Of course, we sensed we did not today appear our all-time best. We mostly backed away from a road with that many guns. Their wagon braked to a halt. Then it rolled, just 16 inches backwards, and there we already were, all shown standing. In mirror, we were a group daguerreotype. We dared not run, not now. Noon made us look unshaved and sunk-eyed, trapped within the holes our separate shadows dug. Did this mirror not magnify otherwise? How could one animal, its nose tube still panting dust, enlarge into a feature bulked up geologic in this dull field? The owner's double-barreled shotgun appeared, wheeled on us. We slowed to utter stillness. We tried with mirrors magnifying help, keeping perfectly motionless, like carved cigar store Indians pile-driven into damp dirt, blood dirt that told too much. We kept our faces as charming as whatever was left there of that. Such a sideshow this damn rolling mirror made of us. Baptists versus circus. Oh, that had cooked up this terrible mix. From atop his wagon, the mustachioed Italian wearing gold and crimson stood. That high up, he could survey too fully his ruined baby curiosity. The women folk, never lowering rifles, used their aim to hide from us their own worst weeping. Pirelli's right hand gripped his shotgun, huge as a circus prop. His left aimed a gilded megaphone now. He called down into country silence, a showman's caramelized voice, plenty loud if organ grinderish. His name is Piccolo, means little one. Who do this hymn? That one come me now. Piccolo, he the favorite with us, with everywhere. All family here helped get Piccolo born. Long time freeing, ropes we use. Piccolo, he started out but 200 pound. Our new one, quick learner. Listen, all my life, I come to make you people laugh. I tell myself he's good in so sad a place. They need laugh, even if they all just want laugh at me. He's good. 1 year in 3, my grandfather, then father, we come make you happy some. Since 1850, Pirelli family tell you farmers not to worry. So beautiful is the rest, the world. And you appreciate? Can you enjoy? No. To the best what I am bringing you to this. And a bambino to our Piccolo. You see there now, the ear is moving. His name he hear. He know me. Even now with what you do him, he know his friends. Well, are you fucking a hiccup? This a town will never see no circus more. No tenta. No candy apple, nothing. Carnevale niente, finito, capisce, non veniamo mai più. Nothing more, you Nesta, you a murderer, Hiccup. Who do this thing? You bring him me now. One man's life I take, you all deserve die, but you killed the one us, I get a one of you. That one, step to me now. and a single figure left the beast. He stumbled, shoes and cuffs now wadded thick with clay and blood. Each leg he uprooted released a different sucking sound. You saw him struggle toward the road, fighting such gravity as had us all, while rushing toward the accusation. He soon found a witness spot along the ditch bank. Preacher kept his narrow back to us. He faced road, faced actual mirror, actual owner, 5 serious rifles aimed now at his chest and face. So plain in his dark coat, shoulders cut too wide for some sloping boy bareheaded. Who would face this reckoning? Who could be brave enough to face it? For us on his first day here, would he, innocent himself, now give us up? Surely we deserved it. Mighty awkward situation here. How does God stay seemingly so good at being God while watching such messes as we daily make? Him clean as sheets and clouds up there, and us with only mud for shoes. What could there ever be between such opposites? Impossible combination. This preacher boy had nothing to gain. First paycheck late. Why would he volunteer to justify the escaped creature mishap? How would he now explain us? Pirelli on high, a bench judge, held the rifle steady, already aimed. He was a big man, but sat aloft there, now crying simply as a child. Still, preacher renewed his spread-legged stance. He intended something, but he looked pitiable. Imagine trying to make sense of this, of us. Who can ever answer for those who know themselves so slightly? At times, Pirelli called, "So you, the one what do this thing, was it you, eh? You ready be the other one will die today?" And it was only now. Our boy pastor's hand rose, like someone about to take a public oath. His eyes aimed high as the owner, high enough and higher to see the hundreds of sudden birds, our air now swarming a custard of wings, thickening with jagged vultures, speedy little wrens and robins, drought mad, landing near it, drinking from its dark outer pools, ready first for wetness, then their meat. And now, hand lifting inches higher, blonde head canting slightly forward, our Reverend Daisy Pilker, new here, started up. At last we got his fullest voice unleashed. He sounded older than any young man ever should. We heard a baritone rise, simple, manly, as he finally began, half sure yet fully eager, to explain to the beast, to its owners, to us, its killers, to explain to any listening God, to explain us, to explain the one way possible, in prayer. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.